when is the best time for people, especially as they're aging, to really get serious about resizing or right sizing rather, and decluttering or organizing?
Well, I would say you could start right now, but start small. They can hire me or another move manager for like 3 hours. I can teach them how to do it. I have worked in time crunch situations and it's not fun. I tell my potential clients, start now because you don't want to have to make decisions in a crisis. Start today.
Hello, my name is Donna Marie, death doula, celebrant, soul doula, and end of life and love legacy guide and educator. And welcome to the Sacred Moments Podcast, a space where we normalize heartfelt conversations around mortality, grief, love legacy, and end of life planning. Through stories, reflections, and soulful dialogue, we explore the sacred transitions of life, the beginnings, the endings, and all the meaningful and sacred moments in between. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when new content is available, like and share our content, and most importantly, join the conversation in the comments. We want to hear from you. So I'd like to welcome today Adele Logan-Galen. She's the founder of Smooth Move Managers, a boutique woman-owned senior move and professional organizing company based in Annandale, Virginia. She specializes in helping older adults and their families navigate downsizing, decluttering, and relocating with compassion, clarity, and care. Adele is a certified senior move manager through the National Association of Senior Move Managers and a former dispute mediator, which I want to talk about because I'm sure that helps you a lot in your role. And Adele brings both practical expertise and emotional intelligence to life's most tender transitions, helping clients feel lighter, calmer, and truly settling into their next chapter.
Well, the majority of my clients are between, say, 70 and 85. Some are couples, some are widows or widowers, but that's generally the age.
So, how'd you get started with this work? You seem very passionate about it. So, I'm really just curious, how did you get started on this journey?
Well, when my parents, I would say the last 20 years of their lives, they moved from New York to California, then from California to North Carolina, and then again to another place in North Carolina. And in each of those moves, I helped them. Um, I helped them sort through their stuff. I helped them decide what they really needed. Um, when they retired finally in North Carolina, um, they moved from a single family home to independent living in a community. And it was amusing to me just to see the different changes they were going through. Not amusing in a bad way. I mean, I was really lucky, very lucky. I loved my parents and liked them. I had a lot of fun with them. So it was easy to talk to them. Um,
Yes.
but every time I moved them, I realized not only did they have to give up tangible items, because, they went from like a 3 bedroom house to a 2 bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
Um, but they moved to independent living because they weren't sure if they would need assisted living in a couple of years, which
Hmm.
they did need. And then my mom ended up needing memory care. So in each moving, they needed different things emotionally. Um, I remember taking my dad, he was in a wheelchair then because he had cancer. So I wheeled him from independent living to assisted living. Because I was like, look, Dad, instead of me working with three different aides during the week, and I live in Virginia and you live in North Carolina, and it gets a bit complicated. Why don't we just move you and Mom to assisted living?
Mm-hmm.
He was 85. So
Oh,
I
wow.
wheeled him down and we stop and we look in the activity room. And then he looks at me and he says, but Adele, there's old people in there. And I was just like, I'm like saying, yeah, Dad, what do you think you are? They're 85. As their daughter and their advocate, I learned a lot. And I didn't even know it was a profession until a friend of mine told me. And I was like, oh, well, if I can like it with my parents, I can like it with anybody.
Yes.
So it was that whole process, the history of, four different moves and seeing them age. I would make my dad's favorite cookies and I would cook for them whenever I visited because you can't do as much as you used to. I mean, I
Yes.
noticed a big difference between the 70s and 80s, and an even bigger difference in the 90s.
Yeah.
Um, the world gets smaller.
You said the word world gets smaller. That really does hit home because I that's a personal experience as I'm getting older. And Ram Dass has this quote that we're all walking each other home. And we actually are, as you were speaking and talking about what you were doing for your parents, and then in retrospect afterwards, you realize how much you learned and that you could offer that service to others, that experience is also preparing you. So as you were walking your parents home, they're also walking you home because you're learning and that wisdom you're gaining is being passed on. And that's part of their legacy and then will be part of your legacy because you have children and you're passing your knowledge on. I think it's so beautiful. I had one conversation with a gentleman who's a pastor in Cleveland, Ohio, and I told him I was a death doula. He said, we're all death doulas. I'm like, you're right. We're all walking each other home, whether we recognize it or not. We're all in service in some way to someone else and vice versa.
Well, my mom ended up dying before my dad. It was a blessing in the sense that she had dementia, and if he had gone first, I think she would have been more lost. But I remember he was in hospice, and I'd visit every week. And I asked the hospice nurse, I'm like, he wants me to bring some red wine to him. I visited in the afternoon with my dog and with cookies, of course, and cards, because we played blackjack for hours. And she looked at me. She's like, Adele, he's 91. He can drink whatever he wants. He's in hospice. Just let him enjoy life.
Yes.
So yeah, so there I was with a bottle of red wine once a week.
I love that you love your parents and like your
I'm
parents.
lucky. I I wish I taped their voices. I really
Yeah.
wish I did that. And I didn't get enough of their medical histories at all.
Mm.
Um,
People always think, or often think rather, that moving is just logistics, but it really is a very emotional experience. Not just, I can say me personally, there are times when I was just frozen and didn't know what to do and what to release. I even did one big downsize or decluttering effort and really experienced a lot of regret and remorse after getting rid of my things because I did it in a time when I felt rushed to do it. I had purged too much. And today I don't regret it. Today I realize that was a good move, but there was some grief associated with that experience when I got rid of it really quickly. So I know that you have to deal with people and their really deep emotions about letting go. And so, how do you see clients struggling with that, and how do you assist them? I'm sure your mediation skills help you a lot in this area.
Well, I feel honored that I'm at that time with them and that
Yeah.
they trust me. I had a client who was moving from his home to a senior community, and there were two bedrooms upstairs. One bedroom was the master bedroom, and the other bedroom was his wife's office. And there was a lot of stuff in the office. And I said, "Oh, where's your wife?" "Oh, she died 7 years ago." Automatically, I'm like, wow, you know, I need to proceed very, very gently.
Yes.
If he's had this office exactly how she left it for 7 years, well, we had to go in because he had to sell the home and we had to get rid of stuff. And she was a teacher, so I was able to call the school where she taught, and they came and got her lessons plans and a lot of her books. But I told him, I'm like, look, why don't you hold my hand and we'll go into her office together?
Mm,
And he's like, I'm scared. I was like, okay. I was like, that's all right. I'm like, why are you scared? He's like, because I might cry. And I said, I'd be surprised if you didn't cry.
yeah.
You know, I said, we will go at your pace. I'll bring tissues and we'll just do a small amount today,
Hmm.
and I think having found a place that would take her belongings and use them for good and help the students, and also he and I got along very well together, so that helped our relationship. I've had other times when I've had to go through, and I this one guy just sat down and cried.
Yeah.
So I just rubbed his back and made him tea. And he's like, I can't do this in front of my kids. I have to be strong for my kids. I'm like, you don't have to be strong for me. I'm like, I've seen your stuff. That space,
Yes.
I feel so fortunate to be able to gently navigate. My desire is to say, hey, I'm with you. You know, I will help. This is part of my job as a senior move manager. But,
Yeah.
you become a friend. And I don't think I can decrease the pain, but maybe I can help get rid of the stuff easier for them. Um, that's what I hope for anyway.
Yeah, and I think you decrease the pain. You can't eliminate it, but having someone there to provide comfort, understanding, compassion, empathy, someone to listen without judgment, you absolutely help to you help with the pain. We don't eliminate the pain. We got to work through our own pain.
Right.
But you are a gentle presence that really your grace that people need in those moments, and that definitely does help with the pain. Anytime we experience love, especially when we're in pain, it helps so much.
Well, I try to have my clients feel lighter when I leave, whether it's because I help them get rid of tangible stuff or because they just needed to talk to somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
I had this one client, his wife had terminal cancer, stage 4 breast cancer for 8 years. And I was hired to help declutter their whole house. But there were times where she just wanted to talk to me. And so I left for a second and went to talk to the husband. And I was like, well, this was like in the beginning of my career. I'm not downsizing right now. I should be helping get rid of her stuff. And he's like, Adele, you are doing the most important job of all. Just go and spend time with my wife. I'm like, okay. Part of my mind was, oh, this is my job. My job is a declutterer, a downsizer. But through the years, I've realized the importance of just listening
Yeah,
to them.
yeah. A word I think I read, rather than downsize, you help people right size.
Right size. Yeah.
Yes. And so even in the conversation, though you weren't actually getting rid of or decluttering anything, that was the right sizing needed in that moment.
And I felt guilty because I had fun. She had some really good stories.
That I love that about being a death doula. I had a recent client and I visited with the daughter, and the daughter was having some really difficult, feelings and thoughts, and her mom's in hospice and she's caring for her mom and doesn't think she's doing a great job. And a lot of times we don't think we're doing a great job, but she is actually doing a great job. And sometimes we need to hear people tell us that and explain how we see them doing a great job. But at the end of my conversation with her, she's like, my mom's never going to talk to you. And I said to her when I walked in, she waved hello to me. She's like, she did? I'm like, yeah. And I said, she'll probably talk to me. So I went in and talked to the mom, and she was so happy having a conversation with me. I was so happy having a conversation with her. And then when I left, she's like, so when are you coming back? The daughter was in shock.
I tell my clients, even before they sign up, I said, you're going to get tired because you're the one making the decisions.
Yeah.
We will go at your pace. I won't rush you. If I feel you're wavering, I might bribe with chocolate or push you along a little. Um, this is their project. You know, it's not my project. I'm here to give them ideas, options. I know the questions to ask, but I need them engaged. They don't like hire me and then say, oh, go fix X. I'm going to be in the kitchen. They're with me side by side. That's why I have a small company. I have four other people who work with me.
And I'm glad you brought that up about how you work with individuals. I was wondering, do you go in, have a conversation with like, someone, Adele, this is what I want for this part of the room, that part of the room, and I don't get light, so I want to create light. And then they walk away and voila, they come back and you've created magic.
Well, it's not like that because these are their belongings.
Yeah.
I deal a lot with clothes and purses and shoes and books and frying pans. They have collections. I work with a lot of, two estate sale companies. So if they have a lot they want to get rid of that could be worthwhile, it can be sold. But no, I work with them side by side. Now, it can get to the point where they trust me enough. And if we're in a time crunch, I can go into a room, take out the stuff I don't think that they want, and I put it in what I call a DK pile, a don't know. And then they can look at it. I never throw anything out without their say so. But that's
Yes.
happened several times and it's been very time efficient. I don't tell them you have to let this particular piece go. Um, if they're unsure, I'll say, well, let's put it aside and look at the rest of the stuff. If there's too much stuff, I try to find a good home for it. I find I've placed things in museums and nature centers and architectural firms. I work with a variety of charities, and I have found that if they feel that it's going to a good place,
Yeah.
they're more able to release it.
You help with creating like a floor plan and organizing space to help them feel at home more quickly. Am I correct about that?
Yes, if they are moving, one of the first things we do is do a survey of the entire house they're going to be selling, what furniture they want to keep, the must haves, the maybe haves. And then I go and I measure everything. And then I go to the new place and outline with painter's tape every single piece of furniture. And
Wow.
that will tell us what will work and what not. Because one, you want wide corridors. They might not be in a wheelchair now, but they could be in a wheelchair in the future. So you don't want a lot of paper and a lot of furniture tight on corners. I look at where all of the plugs are for devices, lamps, stuff like that. So that when they move, I put a copy of every room's floor plan on that door. So the movers know exactly where the stuff goes.
Like red carpet like treatment. I think that is
Well, on the
absolutely
day of the move, I bring one or two team members with me, and I ask that the client just go out for the day. I don't want them there. So the movers bring everything in. We make the beds, uh, unpack the bathrooms, the kitchen, and I buy them flowers and goodies and put them on the coffee table. We don't usually have time to unpack everything that first day.
yeah.
But when they walk in, I had this one client was like, wow, this looks just like my old house. And you want that feeling of home,
Yes.
and I want them to be happy. If they're a solo client, sometimes they ask me to go to dinner with them, I'll say yes. They should never have dinner by themselves the first night. Back the next day, we can hang up pictures, do more with the closets. I ask that they talk to the maintenance people in the new community, see if they can put more shelves in, because inevitably Americans have a lot of stuff. Even if they
Hmm.
hire me, they end up bringing too much stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so the first night I want them to be comfortable. Well, as comfortable as they can be. Also, like with their bedroom, you need to know which side of the bed do they sleep on, particularly if they're a couple, which person needs to be closest to the ensuite bathroom. Um, do they have a favorite towel? You end up learning interesting things.
I imagine that it is especially hard for seniors to let go of their belongings and to embrace
Oh,
change.
yeah. Um, this client of mine who passed away recently, he was a bit of a curmudgeon, but I liked him. We got along, and he had his collections.
Mm-hmm.
So he had albums, he had vinyl, he had books, he had DVDs because he worked in the film industry, and he had had a storage unit for 30 years. Well, it's just so happened when I was there in the storage unit, he was in his apartment. I was in the storage unit reading him the names of some of the albums. He had 1,500 albums. I had to read them loud because he was a bit deaf. So I didn't know, does he want the Duke Ellington, the Frank Sinatra? He had great taste. So I'm reading them. And then I'm about to leave, and I see this woman in another storage unit because, they're all right next door. And she's like, I couldn't help but hear you. You've got a great collection. I said, oh, I can't take credit. These are my clients. She's like, I have a friend who might be interested. So she gave me her name and number. And it so happened that a friend of a friend of a friend bought the entire album collection.
Wow.
And he
Wow.
used to be a music critic for the Washington Post.
Wow.
And I meet these people. So him and his friend, they're both in their 70s. They call themselves Adele's elves because they've helped me with other clients. But it was just sort of like kismet that I was able to get him a good amount of money and close the storage unit. And then he passed away.
Wow.
So then I invited these guys to his apartment in the community. And a lot of the stuff ended up at the American Film Institute Silver. Um, so it ended up in a good place. But it was just sort of funny that it's only because I was speaking loudly the names of these albums that I met this woman who then introduced me to somebody else. Well, he got rid of the storage unit, then he died, and his apartment was filled with stuff. But I learned something really important from him because I said, why are you holding on to this stuff? You can't possibly read or listen to all this stuff.
Right.
He said, Adele, I never got married. I never had kids. These collections are my family. They were his family.
That helps me. Thank you for sharing that. That
Oh, you're
helps
welcome.
me. Yeah, I have one client in particular who has a lot of stuff, and it could be very valuable, but it's just there. And the person didn't consider doing anything with it before reaching this stage in life. And I hope that it goes to a good home, that it goes to a place where people value it and appreciate all of her things, because they deserve a good home. They deserve a good landing.
But they can get it appraised before he or she passes on.
So many people actually wait until there is some type of crisis or a situation that requires them to move. Some people can, and I've been in this position where, I know I need to be doing it, but I don't. I don't have the mental capacity to do it. I don't have the bandwidth to do it. I don't have the ideas. And so I just don't do it. But when the time comes and you got to do it, you figure out the ideas. And I know all the time is the best time. But when is the best time for people, especially as they're aging, to really get serious about resizing or right sizing rather, and decluttering or organizing?
Well, I would say you could start right now, but start small. You would
Hmm.
be surprised how much you can get done in 15 minutes. Do a kitchen drawer or a desk drawer or part of a file cabinet, but take one room at a time and start small. So if you do 10 or 15 minutes one week every day, maybe do 20 minutes a day and then reward yourself when it's done, you know,
Yeah.
go out for ice cream or coffee or whatever. I have worked in time crunch situations and it's not fun. I tell my potential clients, start now because you don't want to have to make decisions in a crisis.
Yes.
Because when you're under that time stress, you just have to get rid of stuff and you might get rid of stuff you don't want to.
Yeah.
So that's why I say start today, or have a friend over to do it with you. Start small, do one drawer a day, do a third of your closet one day, and donate. There are so many people who need things. By the time my dad passed, he had so little because I had right sized them down to like just the clothes, a couple books, a couple photos. But that's all really what anyone
Tell
needs.
me, what has working so closely with older adults taught you about life and legacy and what really matters?
Don't sweat the small stuff, you know.
Mm.
It's people. I mean, I'm working with this one couple, and every time I'm there, I can hear them say, "I love you, honey." And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. Be light in spirit and light in belongings. Keep your health. With my mom, all I took was her wedding ring. That's all I want. Because to me, it's what I have in my heart that she gave me. You know, that's kindness, that love she passed on, that hopefully I passed on. I read this really good book, Die with Zero by
Mhm.
Bill Perkins. It's fascinating.
It's a
And
great title.
yes, and reading that book challenged me and my beliefs in so many ways. But his take on legacy, on stuff, is when you die, you should have zero money left. So you should give your money away while you're alive. And the purpose of money is to have experiences. So, like, for example, last year for my birthday, I invited 10 of my female friends out to dinner because I read that book
Mhm.
and I treated them and I felt great. Like, here were my sisters, all here in one place.
Yeah.
And that's rare that it happens. My husband and I have what we call wine and charcuterie nights, where we invite another couple over and have wine and charcuterie. What types of experiences do you want?
Yeah, experiences are important. I agree. And I'm not sure about the spend all your money part, but the experiences part, I got to read the book.
Die with zero.
Is there anything you would like to leave with any of the listeners before we wrap up our conversation?
Go to the National Association of Senior Move Managers, NASMM.org. Click on find a move manager, and then you put in your zip code, and move managers will pop up. Now, I give a free 1 hour complimentary consultation. Everybody's different. So, you could talk to two or three of them. They can hire me or another move manager for like 3 hours and then do that again in a couple weeks. It doesn't have to be an ongoing thing if you don't want it.
Yes.
I can teach them how to do
In
it.
some cases, all people need is someone to get them started.
Right. Exactly.